Yes, I am live. Someone's got to do it, so I am. As you can see, if you look at this, you probably can't read it on Facebook because it's reversed. Harrison County offices will be closed Monday, April 28, 2025, in observance of Confederate Memorial Day, and will reopen on Tuesday, April 29th. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not going to have it both ways. My great-great-grandfather was Thomas Benton. He fought for the U.S. colored troops during the Civil War. Now, he defeated, along with 17,000 other Mississippi Southerners who were African American, they defeated the guys we're memorializing today. Now, I'm calling on every city and state elected official to denounce this. Now, I understand it's a state holiday, but you do understand it didn't even become a state recognized holiday until the 1990s, 1993. I know more about their history than they do. I've read Jeff Davis' book, The Rise and Fall of the Confederacy. I own the deluxe version. But I am sick and tired of the descendants of these individuals painting the entire state Confederate when they lost. Listen to me. If, in fact, you celebrate those who died, memorialize them, you are spitting in the face of 640 Caucasian soldiers who fought and defeated them. There were close to 200,000 African American U.S. colored troops. 90% came off the plantation to kill every Confederate they can get their hands on, including my great-great-grandfather, Thomas Benton, whose house is still there on Ripley Road in Turkey Creek. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to have it both ways. That the greatest desecration of this flag is the Confederate flag that came down in my state a couple of years ago. Not because they wanted it to, but because they understood the folly. I'm here at the Harrison County Courthouse. There are people waiting to go in, not knowing that this is Confederate Memorial Day, and subsequently, the entire state government is in fact closed. Now, 35,000 state elected officials are getting paid today for Confederate Memorial Day. And then, insult to injury, we have Memorial Day coming up in May. Well, what is it about these men that they allowed to have a Memorial Day when they lost? Look, how you feel about your ancestors is how you feel. But my tax dollars should not go in to commemorating a fascist society. A society that, if they had been successful, would have resulted in a divided state, not a united states. Listen, they're called Confederates for a reason. Here's the reason. The reason is that we were a nation, a federation. That's what you had. It was a federation. Confederate is the opposite. It's the opposite. Like, converse. You got me? That's what you have here. Look at all these people. They don't know it's Confederate Memorial Day. They don't really care that it is. But the truth is that we cannot continue to honor a society that by its own creation would have been the end of these United States. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you, I put up the American flag on top of a statue that has been here, well, it's on 24th Avenue first, put up by the Daughters of the Confederacy. And I want to show you just what a desecration this is. This is the statue. Now, if you could see this statue, do you have this? You can see this statue. You see the Confederate soldier, but on it you'll see the American flag I put up. Now, I want them, the supervisors, to take it down. That in and by itself is the desecration under the rebel flag, which was the Beauregard flag, which is the battle regalia of the Confederacy. That's not even the real Confederate flag. That is a battle flag. And you should never have the battle regalia of any soldier or any enemy of our state. So I put this up. We'll wait and let the county take it down. I'm calling on all of those elected officials, mayors, city council members, to at the very least pass a resolution indicating Gulfport, Biloxi, and the entire South Mississippi's objection to a Confederate Memorial Day. Now, either we're gonna look, folks. We got people rolling back U.S. colored troops. We've got an administration under the guise of being against diversity, equity, and inclusion. We have an administration that is promoting, denying my history for the sake of propping up his own. Now, ladies and gentlemen, look, the man is from New York. You would think that maybe he would know better with the number of New Yorkers who were killed by Confederates. But that isn't the case. That isn't the case. Look, we've got people, all these people here. They're coming to do business. Listen, we're losing right now because we've shut down. We're losing millions of dollars to the tune of somewhere around, I think maybe Chad White can do an audit of exactly what we have, because trust me on this. When the state is off, that means the courts don't meet, the prosecutors don't meet. The only thing that's meeting are the essential personnel. The county schools will be open because they are a county school district. The guards will still be there, and of course the deputies will be there, but shorthanded. This is a state holiday. This is not a national holiday, and it shouldn't be a holiday. Look, those of you who are descendants of Confederates, you can have your way. I mean, I praise my ancestors like you praise yours. But one thing is for sure, my tax dollars should not be putting flowers on the graves of individuals who, if they had been successful, Rip Daniels wouldn't be here. When I wear this t-shirt, never again, that's exactly what I mean. I ain't walking around here playing games. You've got little white boys out here talking about wanting to start a race war. Well, okay, let's just do that. I ain't begging nobody, and I ain't praying for nobody. But if they are stuck on that kind of positioning, if they don't revere these United States, if they don't revere this, if they don't revere these United States, this banner, more so than the Confederate banner, then trust me, we're already at war. We are already at war. And we might as well get your powder dry, and every able-bodied man, a real American, needs to show it. There is no doubt in my mind that after all this time, listen, the state legislature just passed a law against diversity, equity, and inclusion. Do you understand that that is a primary definition of a bigot? Do you understand that the Confederacy was a fascist society? Read their Constitution. Read their Constitution. It says emphatically that people, my great-great-grandfather, a Negro, had no rights that any Caucasian could not take away. It's right there under Article 4. This is no game. This is no grandstanding. It is time for the elected officials that represent all of us to stand up and do what is necessary. If we do not, then trust me on this, then the neo-Nazis and the Confederate flaggots will get what they want. And then you've got to ask yourself, how do you survive? Look at this. People still coming. They don't know about no damn Confederate Memorial Day. And these fools up in Jackson, along with Dictator Reeves, are promoting this. It goes way beyond a commemoration. This, ladies and gentlemen, is an indoctrination. When you compare this, lest we forget. Forget what? That you lost? Lest we forget what? What are we forgetting here? Let me tell you what we're forgetting. we're forgetting that we won. Actually, no, it's no acceptance that we won. That's what this is all about. They're angry, and the rest of us are saying, let's get on with being American. Look, folks, I love this country, and I ain't gonna let nobody run me off now. This to me is more. Now we've got this resurgence of neo-Nazis talking about starting a race war, and you've got Confederates who are the neo-Confederates who are now trying to prop this up. Our very own president, our very own legislature has indicated that what I just did is desecration. Okay, I'm waiting. I'm waiting on someone to arrest me and take down this banner. Go ahead. It's yours. It's mine. You can do that. One thing is for sure, however, this statue has nothing whatsoever to do with a United States. It has more to do with a divided states. And hell yeah, we need to forget this statue, but remember those who died and killed to maintain these United States. Now I went down to, all right, ladies and gentlemen, look. You can sit there, you can say, you can talk, or you can do something about it. I've always been a kind of a do something about it guy. I don't need nobody else to carry my banner. I don't need to ask nobody to do what I do. What I want is for elected officials to do right by everybody in this country. All of us. And the way you do that, particularly historically, is by two things. Number one, being an American. You know that this is un-American. You know that this has little to do with what we are as a society, but more to represent the extreme fringe. And obviously we've got a whole lot of them still in the legislature and in the state. We've got elections in June. We got elections in June. The pre-qualifier for me is whether or not every elected official denounced this. Look, I ain't begging nobody. My great-great-grandfather's grave is sitting right there in Turkey Creek, on Turkey Creek. You understand me? I'm going to post his tombstone along with my great-great-grandmother Melinda Benton. She was enslaved in in Louisville, Kentucky. We know that because we have the will of the man that owned her. His name was Duncan. She escaped somehow, found herself in Memphis, ran into Thomas Benton, my great-great-grandfather. They got married, became members, made their way down the Mississippi River, and found out that there were 40-acre land grants in Turkey Creek, and there they settled. She donated land to Mount Pleasant, the first church that was there. She donated land to the school, the first school that was there. She even sold land to the creosote factory so that they can build that carcinogenic called creosote. That's the black stuff that was on the utility poles. Had she not done that, there's a very great possibility we wouldn't have had this kind of industry. I'm proud of my heritage. I'm damn sure not proud of yours. You don't have to spend a dime on mine, and I ain't gonna spend a dime on yours. And if in fact, your little white kids are still talking about starting a civil war, you need to tell them who won that damn war. There were 17,000 black men who fought. Mississippians. 8,000 African Americans are buried right there at Vicksburg. 17,000 white boys, in quotes. Pardon me, white men. Not from Mississippi. There's always been a multicultural environment. There's always been diversity, equity, and inclusion when it comes down to freedom. These men did not fight for freedom. They look, ladies and gentlemen, the idea that over these years, we would even have a governor that would put together a commemoration for them, not for the 17,000 African Americans who defeated them. Here it is, right here. Go ahead and post this, Ro. April is the month when in 1861, the American Civil War began between the Confederate and the Union armies. Reportedly, the costliest and deadliest war ever fought on American soil. Bull crap. Bull crap. It didn't just begin. Confederates started it. We have the secession letters right here in my hand. Says it right here. written by L.Q.C. Lamar. Declaration of immediate cause which induces and justifies the secession of the state of Mississippi from the federal union. That's why they're Confederates. It is the opposite of the federal. You're Confederates. That's why I think, as far as I'm concerned, those who revere this are Confederate flaggers, to be quite frank. Look, I'm pissed. I'm pissed. I've been talking about this too long now. I want now the state, and I want the cities, and I want every elected official or those who are seeking to get elected to weigh in on this. Here's the secession letter. Our position is thoroughly identified with the institution of slavery, the greatest material interest of the world. Its labor, supplies, and product, which constitutes by far the largest and most important portion of commerce on the earth. Boy, they sure love us. Talking black folks. These products are peculiar to the climate verging on tropical regions and an imperialist law of nature. None but the black race can bear exposure to the tropical sun. I'm reading it. Here it is. These are the secession letters. I guess they're saying we're superhuman beings. I think they're right. That 1 in 10,000. These products have become necessities of the world, and a blow at slavery is a blow at commerce and civilization. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me. I'm not begging. This is the critical race theory that there are those who don't want you to get. There we go. There we have some more. They're coming up thinking that they're going to go into the courthouse. They're not. Because the governor and bigots like him feel that it's far more important to commemorate those old bones of segregationist bigots than to do business in this state. Or, for that matter, to revere those of my ancestors who participating in winning. Now, look, you guys know me. You know me well. I ain't asking nobody to carry my mantle. I ain't begging nobody to support Rip Daniels. I snatched the damn flag down, I did, and I did it for good reason. Because my father, World War II veteran Sandy Daniels, died at 98 years old. He reared me. He reared me to understand what an insult was and what was antithetical to my existence. Never once did he waver in that, even though he was in a segregated army and in the South Pacific. Till his dying day, this man respected me. And I respected him more. He loved the fact that I went down there at the Bees Road and snatched down the Confederate flag. I lowered it. I didn't have to climb no pole. You just grab the line and you put it down. Well, it's down now. 21 years later. That's victory. That says to me that it's worth it. This Confederate memorial shut down is the greatest insult, the greatest desecration to these United States and to the flag that we revere. Which is why it is sitting there now on the statue. Now, I'm sitting here in front of the Harrison County Courthouse just watching all these people come here not knowing. And many of them, like the sweet little lady, she was probably born here. Another little lady was from here. Now she can't handle her business because we want to somehow make sacred the bones of those individuals who wanted to destroy this country. Listen, you got a United States or you got a divided states. Well, which one is which and who fought for what? And biggest question, for me, cover the embarrassment of being closed for Memorial Day, then feel free. They want to take down the flag that I chained to the statue, Confederate statue, then they can do that. And yeah, maybe it's desecration. Okay, I'll pay. I ain't got no problem. I'll go to jail. We'll do whatever we got to do. But I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to sit here and somehow or another imply that it all is well. All ain't well. I ain't well. When you see this shirt, never again, that's what it means. And there are those who truly believe that they can force this country back there, and we ain't going back. No, I'll fight you before it goes back now. If that's what you guys have been doing, if that's where you are, There's a whole lot of military men who feel opposite. There's a whole lot of men wearing uniform, black, white, brown, indifferent, undecided, even transgender with that flag on, and you don't know about it, and they are ready to kick your ass if you think for once you're going to come back here and turn the clock back on our society to the point where we have second-class citizens and we have privileged class. That ain't going to happen. That ain't going to happen. Not on my watch. Not on my watch. And Negroes who somehow or another feel that they got to walk down the street, go hands up, don't shoot, and that's going to cure it, you wrong. This is called civil disobedience. That is my county courthouse like it is anybody else's. But that damn sure ain't my statue. I don't want a dime going there. And certainly, I don't want someone spending my tax dollars to honor individuals who, if they had been successful, would have seen the destruction of this country. Look, folks, I'm just a history buff. But when you read what Jeff Davis said, February 62. He had a Negro is not 1/10 as useful as what enslavement. By the way, I have the books. You understand, huh? Here it is. This is Jeff Davis, Rise and Fall of the Confederacy. See that right there? That's what it is. See that? So he says this. Hang on. All of this is impromptu, folks, so you just got to bear with me here. I'm full. Ain't no doubt about that, because I'm pissed. I'm pissed, and I'm pissed. I don't walk around here grumbling about it. There it is right there. February 22nd. 1862. Let's see, Jeff Davis. Let's see. It has, he was asked about enslavement. Davis told a northern visitor that slavery was not the cause of secession. He says this, I'm quoting him, my own conviction as to Negro slavery are strong. It has its evils and abuses. We recognize the Negro as God and God's book and God's laws in nature tell us to recognize him, our inferior, fitted expressly for servitude. You cannot transform the Negro into anything 1/10 as useful or as good as what slavery enables them to be. That's what the president of the Confederacy said. And by the way, for some of you who don't know it, Negroes were never mustered into the Confederate Army. And for my dear Caucasian friends who are too dumb or ignorant to read the book, there was something that Jeff Davis came up called the 20 nigger rule. I can only one that can use that. You know what it was? Let me tell you what it was. If in fact you were a plantation owner and you own 20 or more enslaved, then you can pledge them to be servants to the war effort. They dig ditches, they did the same thing they do. They were not soldiers. It was called the 20 nigger rule. And therefore you had many of the rich did not have to go off to war, which brought rise to those poor white boys saying it is a rich man's war and a poor man's fight. Don't just believe me. Pull it up on your phone. The 20 nigger rule. And a rich man's war and a poor man's fight. Let me take it even further. This state is shut down and commemorating Confederates who did not take black prisoners. If you were caught in uniform with a gun, you were summarily killed or sent back to your owners who could kill you. There was no law against killing an enslaved. So you're looking at treasonous individuals who, by orders of the Confederacy, was not taking prisoners, which brought about what was called the Black Soldiers' Creed. Pull that up. You will read it. It was used to recruit black folks. At the very end, you will see those Negroes said, we ask no quarter and we will give none. Ours is but one, the fight and survival of our race, period. That is how we came to be here. That's how this works. So let me tell you, and I don't know how much time I got, Ro. And by the way, Ro and Whitlock had no idea that this was going to happen this morning. But it happened just the same. I don't tell people things. What I do is I go and I say, well, look, At some point, who's going to say, I'm not your nigga. I'm not going to be that. And if anything, I will demonstrate that. At some point, you've got to do something besides say something. Frederick Douglass said it very well. Power concedes nothing without demand. It never did, and it never will. You must resist it with either words or blows or both. Look, I don't have a belligerent bone in my body, but I know when I'm being insulted. I know when it's time for me to shut up and go, okay, I gotta do something. So I'm calling on every elected official and every official who's seeking to run to go on the record and denounce Confederate Memorial Day as a day of remembrance for those individuals who were traitors. Look, do we celebrate? So crazy. Benedict Arnold, surely you know who he was. Benedict Arnold, ladies and gentlemen, was a traitor to the revolution, to the colonists. And do we celebrate him for supporting King George? I mean, you want to grab that door, please? You want to grab the door, please? Thank you. So at some point, those people of good nature have to stand up and have to do what is necessary, because our elected officials are not doing what's necessary. Bro, I can't hear you. Don't know if you're there. Everybody, the whole parking lot is filling up with people because they don't know and don't even give a damn that it's Confederate Memorial Day, because they wish those bones would just simply rot and go away. But it's never going to go away as long as you have people, Dictator Reeves, and as long as you have elected officials who are seeking to constantly remind us while wanting us to forget our own history. They have taken Medgar Evers' name off of the books as being an African American. Anytime you say black anywhere right now, it's being purged under the guise of diversity, equity, and inclusion. That is tantamount to what the Confederacy stood for. There is no greater definition of bias than that. Here we go. Another young lady going up there. She's going to go to the door, turn around, because after all, it's Confederate Memorial Day. And guess what? To them, it's like, well, huh? What? Yeah. Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Look, parking lot's filling up. These people are not going to do business with Mississippi because you know why? Someone's arrogance born out of ignorance and bigotry. Look, by my saying that, I don't want you to think that I'm somebody else. Oh, yeah. No. There's no legislation, in my view, that's going to get rid of bigotry. I'm not trying to win anybody's heart. Look, you can kill someone with kindness, but it takes too long. I mean, the reality is I am not out here begging. I'm out here telling. I'm a descendant of a U.S. colored soldier. He is not recognized on this day. Instead, those who wanted to kill him are. Those who wanted to divide this United States is. Now, if that makes you feel good, then God bless you. It doesn't make me feel good at all. It is the ultimate desecration and the ultimate disrespect for my dear, beloved great-great-grandfather, Thomas Benton, whose grave is sitting right there behind the airport on Turkey Creek. I'm going to post his grave and my great-great-grandmother, Melinda Benton. Her house is still there on Rippey Road. It is the first one you come to when you go across that circle. It's owned by Ella Holmes Hines and her husband. They are distant cousins. Thank God they finally fixed it up. It should be more than that. Look, my history I'm proud of. And for those of you who don't know your history, you need to seek it out. Someone fought and killed for you to be here. They always say fought and died. Well, hell, guess what? I wouldn't be here if they all died. They had to kill to be here. And they killed every Confederate that they could put their hands on. I'm seeing people walk up now. It's just incredible. It's just incredible. And it's absurd. And we're the laughing stock again because of someone's arrogance and wanting to perpetuate their view on what Mississippi must be like. It's bull crap. It's bull crap. Now I've put an American flag on the statue, and hopefully it will stay there. Because, ladies and gentlemen, that statue and the battle flag above it is the greatest desecration to a United States. It is. And it's about time that we Americans, black, white, brown, indifferent, who love freedom, say so. It's about time. And I don't mean just sitting here protest. I mean you have got to make elected officials, you got to get them on the record. This is an issue. Now, if Philip Gunn, who was the Speaker of the House, if in fact he saw it, and look, my compliments to the legislature. Finally, after some urgence, after yours truly took it to the Supreme Court, after so many other, we had Campbell, we had so many others fought for and marched for, we finally changed our state flag. Well, damn it, we need to change. Look, there are 16 days on our calendar for the Confederacy, giving reverence. You realize in June, it is a holiday for Jeff Davis. It's not a closed holiday, but it is listed on the calendar as a holiday. Look, at some point, we must expect elected officials, even if they're not part of the legislature, even if they're not the governor, to go on the record. The Harrison County Board of Supervisors need to go on the record. Doesn't matter to me that the governor doesn't listen to you. You need to say very loudly, you don't support shutting down the state for Confederate Memorial Day. Now, folks, there was at least 5, 6, 7 bills to shut down for a federal holiday called Juneteenth. Well, wonder why we won't shut down for that. Well, maybe it's because those 17,000 African-American soldiers didn't matter. Maybe it's because we don't want to show that they won. That's what critical race theory is, you see. The idea that we persevered and we won. Look, the greatest compliment on this, in this state is what's happening right now. I'm Rip Daniels. I own a broadcasting company and a few other things. That is the greatest compliment from Mississippi. But you don't see that. They won't want to promote that, and I'll tell you why. Because it says that we've progressed. Just say that you're progressive about any of them, and they'll tell you, oh, no, we want progress. We want to regress. Regress to where? Well, that bygone era called the Confederacy. I'm not missing words. What I'm doing here is being very, very straightforward and giving you historical substance for why this should not happen. Why we, at this point, should not be shutting down or doing anything else for Confederate Memorial Day. Most people don't even know it. More than that, most people do not have reverence to the Confederacy because they know what it stood for. A divided states, not the United States. So I'm going to shut down. I'm going to make it back to the office. And I'm going to do what Rip Daniels does. Tell the truth. With a whole lot of respect and a whole lot of honor. I ain't going to stop, but I'll tell you why. Because I come from a very proud people. And especially my dear great-great-grandfather, Thomas Benton. God bless him. He fought for and killed every Confederate he can get his hands on, and I'm proud of that. That's just on my mama's side. On my daddy's side, it was just as much. My daddy's great-great-grandfather was last name Williams. He was in Vicksburg. He got out of Vicksburg, cut his master's throat, and got out of Vicksburg and did the same thing between Milliken's Bend and Port Hudson. Look, this is history, but there are those who don't want it to be. Faulkner said in Mississippi, the past ain't the past. Oh, I'm sorry, the past ain't gone. It ain't even the past. And if that's how they think, then okay, let's get this on. You know, we can be cordial, we can be gangster, whatever. See you on the other side. you did dig it up. You found the Confederacy. I might need to get you to take a look at this computer. And by the way, folks, I know that there are some blocking attempts here. We know that they are. Whenever you're talking about truth, you got to expect that to happen. I expect it to happen. I understand very well, what civil disobedience is and what the ramifications are. Okay. On the other hand, I also understand that if, in fact, you say nothing, it implies that it's okay. It ain't okay. It's not okay. I've been saying nothing now for, 30 years. Well, I've been saying something, but I've not done it outside of snatching the battle flag down. But it's time now to get rid of all those relics. If, in fact, you're happy that we are a United States, then you need to act like that. At this point, it is imperative, that you go on the record. So all of those who are seeking to run for office, Fofo, and by the way, my compliment is Fofo, he was the first city to rid Biloxi of the old Confederate flag. My compliment. Fofo, you ought to weigh in. Draft your editorial, your letter, and hopefully include us, indicating that you object to having Confederate Memorial Day. People are still piling in at the courthouse. Whitlock's still there. Same is true of Billy Hughes. Billy did not take down the banner. Said he wouldn't take down the banner. Said that now, to his credit, when I was fighting the Confederate flag battle, Billy was a senator. And he expressed then to his honor, actually, and we've been friends ever since, that he felt that it needed to go then. Now, he didn't say it out loud, but he did write and indicate that we can do better than what we have. He just said also that he just didn't like the new pie flag that was introduced, and I agree with it. Looked like crap. But, to his credit, however, Billy, you fell short. You didn't do what Fofo did during your last election, and you didn't have an adversary. And so now, Billy's second, I guess that's Hugh Keaton, you got to weigh in. You want to be the next mayor of the second largest city that has 43% African American, then act like it. Same is true of Sonia Williams-Barnes. Of course, Sonia Williams-Barnes is on the record. She literally boycotted coming here with Gunn, the speaker, because of the fact that we were still flying it. Now, Gunn knew it was wrong. This is what gets me about a decent, honorable Caucasian. You know it's wrong, but your position there is I live here and I can't be too loud about it because, after all, I won't be elected again. Of course, needless to say, Gunn did take it down, and needless to say, he decided not to run again. Gotta let the dust settle, huh? I guess. But I can tell you, one Sonia Williams-Barnes was very clear on the record about her support for the United States. Listen, it is not being against the Confederacy. It is supporting the United States. It's not either or. There's no either or there, bro. This is clear. Either you support a United States or you support a divided States. It's simple as that. And you can't have it both ways. You can't sit here and tell me, okay, we're going to commemorate the guys who were traitors to the country, and then say, well, and on Memorial Day, then we will respect those who were not traitors to the country. Really? You think that works in America? Keep in mind Benedict Arnold. You think that works? Santa Ana. What about down there down in Mexico? You think that works? I think that's a good idea. This has gone on too long, ladies and gentlemen. And is it an issue on the ballot? No, but the ideology is always on the ballot. That's why Mississippi has been last in every good list and first in every bad list. That's why. Because we've had the same old bygone kind of individuals trying to maintain some kind of concept of the Confederacy in honor of their granddads or dads, or in this, of course, it wouldn't be dads, but I guess granddad. Some might be dads. No. All right, let's go to the phones here. I want to get to, can I go to Dr. J? Good morning. Going good. How you? Yeah, you good, brother. Thank you, sir. Well, I appreciate that, but my doing what I do is not because of what they do. In other words, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, and I believe that. Dr. King said it, and so, but at some point, you've got to let someone know that you're not just going to be insulted. In other words, we'll talk about it, but now there has to be actions, and there needs to be actions, and the actions need to be by people of good conscience and just patriots. I mean, we've got people right now around all the world, right, and fighting for freedom, and here we are shutting down the entire state for those who didn't. I have a problem with that. As well, at the height, that's how it was, because a lot of hippie yippie, irresponsible, bearded, smelly young people were protesting because they were being drafted and sent off to the war, as was I drafted. Yeah, 1800s though, folks. You got to understand. The only reason why we're talking about this is because they bring it up. You got me? Now, when I hear, and I'm looking at some individuals here who suggesting, oh yeah, well, why is this important? Well, you should be asking, why is it important to them? No, really. If it was not important, then why would they want to shut down the entire state? You realize we're losing over $5 million today because 35,000 employees are not working? Not to mention all the monies that's not being transferred because the state is shut down. There were too many people to count at the courthouse saying, this is the only day I got off. I can't believe they're closed. And not going, they're closed. Huh? What? For what? Confederate Memorial Day. Folks, this is not something that the people sought out back in 1993. No one says, oh, please, Governor, let's have, was it Fordyce then? Seemed like it was Fordyce in office. Or Ronnie Musgrove. No, it was Fordyce, I believe. Fordyce came after Ronnie. Make sure. Was it? No? It's around 1993. That's when they chose, if I recollect correct. Now, you realize Confederate Memorial Day was on the books, but they chose to shut down, I think, in and around the early 1990s. I know that because I was here. It was Kurt Fordyce. That's about right. Conservative. Conservative, Confederate, same thing. Same thing, folks. Council of Conservative Citizens. But for those of you who don't understand this, there are individuals in this state and in this country who want to turn back the clock and be less inclusive so that they can maintain their power. So, look, it would be okay if they had their own country. It'd be okay. You move, you take your own country. But not in this country. In this country, you see, we have to abide by the rule of law, contrary to what the current president says. Now, what really irritated me about this and really motivated me to go downtown Gulfport at the courthouse was the mere fact that the Whitney plantation lost its funding, federal dollars. Why? Tell you why. Because it was telling the truth about a revolt, an enslaved revolt that was put down, but the Whitney plantation and the Destrehan plantation, both of them, they close together. They capture the Django in all of us. Before I be a slave, I'll be dead in my grave and go home to my God and be free. Look, I'm here because men fought for me and killed for me. That's why I'm here. And once you realize that these individuals fought for and won their freedom. Nobody gave it to them. What Emancipation Proclamation is a piece of paper. It is a proclamation. We proclaim that you are free. What makes you free is your ability to defend yourself. 17,000 African Americans defended themselves right here in this state. They were proud Mississippians. They fought for their families. They won. 8,000 African Americans are buried right there in Vicksburg. 17,000 Caucasian soldiers. 3 Confederates are buried in Vicksburg. I want you to understand their burial grounds is all around here. They have a couple buried right there on count. Look, there's nothing wrong with that. I ain't knocking it. That's your dead, not mine. Not mine. Why is it that my celebration of my history has to be an insult to yours? You see, that's what Donald John perpetuates over and over again. The mere fact that General Brown or others persevered, got to the top of his game, he has to be a diversity, equity, and inclusion guy. Well, guess what? That's true. He is diverse, and to get equity, you don't ignore the qualifications. Some of you people just buy a hook, line, and sinker what you're told rather than understand what actually is being said to you. You don't even know when you're insulted. You don't even know when someone is spitting in your eye. Because after all, you've been convinced or indoctrinated to think that a little bit is enough. As Nina Simone says, go slow. Not anymore. He who is behind will forever remain behind unless he runs faster than the one in front of him. I wake up every morning hauling ass. Anybody who know me know that. And if in fact you're in my way, I'll go around you. I'll go under. I'll go through you. But you're not just going to stay in my way. No. And that's not anger. That's not belligerent. That is pursuit of happiness, folks. We all are pursuing happiness. There are some, however, want to limit your pursuit. Well, absolutely. They want to say that you can't have track shoes or that you can't have the inside lane. Either that or somehow disqualify your abilities. You got me? Where we are now is a situation where it's become very, very prevalent to convince Negroes that, okay, it's all right to be second class. And everybody's going, ooh, what we going to do now? What we going to do now? We going to march? I ain't marching. If I march, I'm armed. I'm just going to tell you that. You can lock arms all you want. That doesn't work. We've got people out here who are killing people because they're praying. We got folks who are hunting people because they're in a supermarket in Buffalo or in Florida or El Paso. Look, doing what we do, we often get phone calls. We often, it's not unusual. All you got to do is be against Donald John, and you get phone calls. Just ask any judge who judged against him, any clerk who clerked against him, or any lawyer who was counsel opposite, or just ask Liz Cheney. Anyone else. That should tell you something about where we are in my country and who's instigating it. That is called fascism, ladies and gentlemen. Real Americans are Antifa. We are anti-fascist. You realize if you are a capitalistic society, you are not fascist. If you believe in one man, one vote, you are not fascist. But if, in fact, you believe in a privileged class and that there's limits on who should vote because of what you think, not because of qualifications, then you're fascist. Simple as that. I appreciate the support we got down there. We're uploading some video. I understand that some were suggesting that it's blocked. We're not saying that it's blocked, is it? I wasn't that bad, was I? I was a little PO, still am. What I did first was go there and I chained an American flag at the base of the Daughters of the Confederacy monument, Lest We Forget monument. That monument used to be on 24th Avenue, right in front of the courthouse that was there, and I hate they tore that courthouse down. Incredible architecture. There was some structural obsolescence, but I wish it was still there. It was right next to the art center is a very classic building. I spent a lot of time there. My father testified there during the wait-in. Boyce Holloman was the special prosecutor at that time. And of course, Judy and I had several meetings. There was an effort there to unify back in the early days of early integration. So it was relevant, but they meaning the powers that be, the Confederate fanatics, moved that statue to where it now sits in front of the parking garage. And so what I did was chain a American flag at the base of that statue. They have to take it off, cut it off, whatever, I don't care. And of course, this state did in fact pass some laws regarding desecration. You want to consider desecration? Me putting up American flag on that? Fine, good. I'll be here. Ain't paying no bond either. I'll be right here waiting. Because at some point, someone has to put some kind of civility and put some kind of logic to the most illogical concept of commemorating the enemies of the state. You know? Now, if in fact that's your great-granddaddy, you go to his tombstone at his grave and you put some flowers or a Confederate flag. Now, I'll be damned if my tax dollars has got to go toward that. Because they are going toward that. This from a state that's cutting everything. Everything. Particularly as it applies to education. And now we know why. There are those who don't want you educated. There are those who don't want you to know that there was a Constitution, Confederate Constitution, that said that Negroes were not part. Now, you know, if you are in fact light bright or dark, and you happen to have 1/32 of Negro blood, then you can't vote. Not in that there Confederacy. That's how it worked. It took a civil war. It took a civil war, and thank God for it. You see, you can always tell individuals who believe in this. All you got to do is ask them one simple question. Are you glad the Confederacy lost? If they say anything short of hell yeah, you got a problem. You got a bigot on your hand. If they go into some kind of explanation, well, I don't know. It really wasn't about this. And, you know, I think they were fighting for their cause. They were fighting for what they believe in. If they say anything like that, trust me, don't trust them. Just saying. Because that individual believes, as do the fascist government of the Confederacy. They believe it. And we are there now. Yeah, we're going to go to the phones. But folks, look, and I don't mind you weigh in. There are some quick history questions. I don't have a problem with it. You can give me the history questions. I'm cool. I realize that those 50 stars and 13 stripes was not around in Civil War. The ones that I taped to the doors there at the courthouse. But that's Old Glory. That's Old Glory. And, you know, there are those individuals who feel that there's a substitute. Like it or not. All right. And I'm all over the board. Sorry about that, folks. It's been a very, very busy morning. Email from some individuals said, well, why didn't you tell anybody? Why? Stevie Wonder said, let's see, how was it? If it's a song that you two feel, may you join and sing with me. Yeah. I think the song's from the Key of Life. He basically said that he's going to sing his song, and if it's a song that you two feel, may you join with me. Look, I'm nobody's leader. I'm not out here to do that. My daddy told me that true leaders go where they want to go, only to turn around and discover they were followed. You got me? You don't go out here campaigning. Oh, please follow me, please follow me. Yeah. If you feel that strongly about a thing, then what you do is you do it. If someone agrees with you, they'll help you. They'll join. If they don't, okay. I don't hold it against you. I carry my own cross. And trust me,
I ain't gonna fall. No, I ain't gonna fall. I wasn't made to do that, bro. You know? But we got a cross on our back here in Mississippi. We can't have it both ways. We can't play like me, like, oh yeah, the Confederacy is dead, and then all of a sudden cherish those who dead, those who died. No, can't have that. So going forward between now and June, I want you to ask every candidate that's going to earn your vote whether you think Mississippi needs to stop having Confederate Memorial Day and save that money, preferably for Juneteenth. It's a federal holiday, you see. We'll be back.